know what we call this in the United States? God's ketchup, right there.
I've never heard that before. I think he just made it up.
Is this how the other half lives all the time?
One of those things just never happened.
When somebody rips one, you know it, and it's not yours.
It was like Bugs Bunny when you like smelled the carrot soup.
That is the most random thing. What are you talking about?
It's impossible.
Woo!
Who said there are no second chances in life?
Man, that was a good one.
It's okay.
And we're back. Over-seasoned. I guess we officially called this season 2, although it's like season 7.
No, it's season 3.
It's season 3?
It's officially season 3.
It's officially season 3.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you back. Sorry we took a little hiatus, but we're recording live. Well, no, we're not recording live. We're recording from Natural Studio in Medellin, Colombia. Having a great time. It's been a few weeks since we've done a show.
I think it was Thailand?
Was it Thailand?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we had a couple fans reach out that I'd like to apologize to that we haven't been actively recording. One is a blast from the past. Do you remember Alona Smith? If you saw her, she was good friends with Mel from Reno, Nevada. That is correct.
Okay.
And we did the Comro opening all together.
Right.
So it's a great segue into. So Alona, we're so sorry that we've left you contentless, but hopefully you'll be content with this content as we move forward, and maybe we'll have to bring back some of those old memories from Comro, because boy, that was quite an opening.
All those tequilas you sourced are still down in some
I hope
basement lockbox somewhere.
I hope Alona got all of those. Also, somebody who reached out who said that they were patiently awaiting a new episode was an old homie that I met from the Borgata Casino, Sir Steve Ure, who I used to work with, like I mentioned, in Atlantic City. He worked at a place called Suilon, which was Susanna Fu's restaurant in the Borgata, and then he was also the GM of Wolfgang Puck's restaurant in the Borgata. Really cool dude. He's living down in DC now, and as all former soldiers of Steven Starr, he is now back on the force, back on the dark side, as we used to call it in the Steven Starr realm. The evil empire. He's back opening restaurants for Steven Starr, and I think he's done Nashville, DC, bunch of new openings.
I kind of lost track of what Steven Starr was even still opening. Is it completely new brands, or is it?
So, dude, they opened up a pastis in New York.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
then they opened up a pastis in Miami.
Okay.
Then I think they're opening a pastis, or have opened a pastis in Nashville.
Okay. So he's finally sticking with like a one brand.
No, because then he decided he's going to open up a restaurant with Nancy Silverton, I think.
Okay.
In DC, and I think he's in the process of taking over Babbo, and not Babbo. Is it Babbo? A couple of the old croc restaurants. Remember the dude who got ousted? Babbo and Lupo.
Croc restaurants?
The guy that used to wear the Crocs with the fucking.
Come on, man.
Molto Mario. I loved his show.
Yeah.
That was for me for a long time. Molto Mario was the best cooking show on television.
One of the guys I went to culinary school with was his externship at, was it POW? Like his first West Village restaurant where he was like cooking. Yeah, he said he just like crashed, like cook his heart out, but then like crash out on the banquette, like in between services. Yeah.
Oh wow.
This must have been, well, I
What,
graduated
in the 90s?
Yeah, late 90s.
Like
97-ish.
Speaking of, so I I know nobody feels bad for Mario. He had quite a fall from grace. I do, however, miss those restaurants. And
can't say I really went to them that often.
So okay, look.
I thought the one that was like super fancy,
Del Posto?
Del Posto was too much of a departure from what
Italian food actually is.
I don't want to take that step. I don't want to say that.
Okay.
But from like name some of his other restaurants.
So here's the ones that I've eaten at. So I ate at Casamono.
Casamono's great. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yes.
We ate together.
That was like the place where we would go.
Like weeks.
Because it was open to like one of our old externs was working there also.
Okay.
He actually won the first season of Top Chef.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah.
Ilan, whatever?
Yeah.
Used to work at Casamono.
Yeah, he'd work at Casamono. So
which is why he makes Spanish food.
I guess.
And I just didn't know if he was a Sephardic Jew or something and took all the liberties in the world.
I don't know.
I'm just joking.
I don't know. This is reaching back into my memories, but we used to go to Casamono a lot, and I love that style of cooking. It was like bigger, but shared plates and order a bunch of things. And
I'll never forget their braised oxtail inside of the piquillo peppers in like a cute little, those little like ceramic
cazuela type of thing.
Yes, yes.
I remember having coxcombs there for the first time in fava beans. They were fantastic.
Wow, that sounds nice. Listen, I'm never going to say it's okay to be a Harvey Weinstein or any of that ilk.
I'm just talking about from the restaurant perspective. I
know. Oh,
I feel like for me, I stopped paying attention around that time. You know what I mean? Not that he felt. I had a different relationship to the whole thing.
So I ate at Del Posto one time with my friend Chris Wanamaker and his wife.
Did we ever go?
No. We did.
We went to Tom Colicchio's place that was next door, that massive steakhouse.
Colicchio and Sons, was it?
Yeah.
What we did do was try to sell.
Yes.
We tried to sell shoebox
to
the motherfuckers at Del Posto.
Right.
Now, let me say this, all right? The GM at the time was definitely smarter than all of us. He let us know that.
Uh-huh.
The chef was a sweetheart. And
Mark Ladner.
And he actually connected us to one of our first clients. He was the one who connected us with Arthur Lee at Alta Morelia.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think he realized that we were onto something. So thank you, Mark Ladner, for doing us a solid, unlike most of our restaurant friends at the time. I still love you guys. You're great to drink with. Just not great for getting business. But yeah, we went to Del Posto. That's probably what you're remembering.
Yes.
We did a whole sales pitch.
I didn't eat there, but I was at a few meetings there.
But somehow you didn't eat there, but you were left with a sour taste in your mouth.
We tried very hard for that contract.
We tried very hard to get the contract. No, but they had a good system. It was something like
fully respectful.
Send the invoices to the corporate office, but then have them sent back to be processed incomplete, but then to send them back to the corporate office to make sure that the payments were done. There was some crazy cockamamie process.
I remember going to the Colicchio and Sons and being, I remember chuckling at the table when they came to describe the menu, and it was like, you could have a 14-day aged, or a 36-day aged, or a 42-day aged, or a 72. It was like this super exhaustive
aging
list
program
of choices.
Yeah.
That's just not me. I want like 2 choices.
You want 2 choices.
Yeah. Wet aged,
dry aged.
Or maybe some super
like the fancy
funky,
cut of the night.
Something like that.
Yeah. We're gonna whack you over the head with this.
I don't need that many decisions, right?
I understand. I like an exhaustive.
You like to dabble. You like to
yes.
that stuff.
I'm a fancier. I like options. I like simple things done very well, but I do like options. Like for example, if you had let's just say a marinated pork chop, like you had described in our last episode, or like another fancy chop. Say like I love those chops that have the belly attached still. so you can get like the chicharron that's connected to the pork chop itself.
Okay.
Because they're like the tomahawk ones.
Yeah.
Like in Puerto Rico they call it the cancan. I really like that.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind having a couple.
Different style of cut.
Yeah.
I can get that.
Okay.
I get down with that.
All right.
I was just making a reference to the many different agings that I remembered from that restaurant.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It seemed to me like when something was starting to jump the shark for me for New York restaurants when they had such
Too many options.
too many very expensive options. It felt like.
Right, because they're not offering you different cuts of skirt. Although skirt's expensive now.
I know.
Everything's
I think
expensive.
everything's expensive now.
I was just saying that I miss Molto Mario. I miss that show. I miss that. I miss the cooking. And so of all those restaurants I got to eat at Del Posto, which was a fantastic meal. And honestly, that was the first place that prepared me for the $30 pasta.
Right.
Which was like four little, it was like 4 little pieces of pockery, you know what I mean? With like, and it's just like, but everything's done with love and in-house and whatever. It was just, but I had a great meal, great meal. And I'll never forget the bottle I had, which was a Taurasi Lunardi. I forget I see the label. But anyway, it was a great meal. Eating at Del Posto, eating at Casamono, eating at Babbo one time. And I think that's it. I think that's all the restaurants. But I think that whole group is essentially gone.
I would imagine so.
With all that said, so Steven Starr has decided to, I think he's taking over some of the operations or...
Great concepts. Why not?
Yeah, great restaurants.
Yeah.
Great restaurants.
Very established neighborhood brands that need a little bit of a freshen up, so we say.
Yeah, exactly.
Bit of
Need a little tuna tartare on that menu, So, So our friend Steve, right, was kind enough to share some of... Can you imagine opening a restaurant these days? How many restaurants have you opened, Tony? How many restaurants have you opened in your life? I mean, if you were to give it a guess.
8 to 10?
8 to 10.
Yeah.
And all of them come with their own
there's
kind of
opening
pain.
a restaurant, there's like a reconcepting of, so there's a little bit...
Oh, right. The granddaddy of all reopenings that I think you had it would have been the reopening of Oriole, right?
Yeah, but that was more... There was a move, and the reopen... Same idea, right?
Yeah.
I just didn't want to sign up for another...
10 years of torture?
2 years after the opening, which was already 8 months away. It felt like my time was come to move on to...
Something else.
Something else. And I wanted to move to... I was kind of ready for a larger move than just a different restaurant down the street.
Understood, yeah. And so looking back, we've done one... No, we've done two... Dude, we've done 2 openings together. So we did the Comro.
There's been the restaurants that never opened, even though
that's true.
There's been the restaurants that have a flood and have to be completely gutted and reopened, even though it's the same restaurant.
Did you go through that?
That happened at
there was a flood?
Like one pipe on the floor, one of the apartments up above burst over the 3-day weekend. Of course, it happens over a 3-day weekend, so nobody knows about it.
So when you walk into an entire shit show
in the 3 feet of water in the basement. I was actually on vacation at this time. And I was
of course you were.
Phone calls,
the one time
what is going on?
That one time you got a vacation.
Exactly.
Do you remember where you were?
I was in Reno. I remember I was out in the mountains shooting guns.
Right. Doing
and
what
I had
Renoans do.
Really spotty service, so I'm I'm just not going to pick it up, right?
Yeah.
And then I called back and
and the whole restaurant was flooded, and the entirety of your vacation was ruined by the fact that you were going through an existential crisis.
Yeah.
Perfect. We did...
True to form.
We did 2 openings that I can remember together.
Comro, which was
18 restaurants. Yeah. Man, what a... Let's just touch on that one, because Alona and all of our friends from that would probably laugh. Can you remember that craziness that was Comro?
This must have been 15 years ago.
Dude, for starters, I'll never forget the never-ending fights about not doing burgers. We just wanted... So, let us set the stage. So,
Did we do burgers?
No, we weren't allowed to do
Oh, we
burgers.
weren't allowed to do burgers, but we came up with a great name for a burger spot.
Yeah, and so Comro is now the Whitney Peak Hotel, right?
Yes. It's like
So-
a climbing. It's pretty cool. They have a whole climbing gym on that.
Yeah.
Top
So
of the outside
we
of
go
the-
to this. It's the old Fitzgerald Casino, which is a place that had a
In
lot of
Nevada.
history, right?
Sure.
This is what I remembered of it, because obviously, like, I didn't have any connection to Reno before ever visiting for this project. And so it's this old, like, classic Reno casino. Reno casino. It's meant for each other, right? That an investment group and a pretty spicy local Reno investor guy, right, got involved with the idea that they wanted to present a different face to what was traditionally a very old school gaming town. They buy this old casino.
No game. There was gonna be no gaming.
They buy this old casino, no gaming, and the idea, which was a fun idea, was to do like this on the ground level, which is where most of like the slots and all the gaming stuff would have been, to turn this into like a food hall, essentially. There was a taco spot, right?
Yes.
With really cool traditional pastor.
Yes.
There was a sashimi kind of sake bar.
Tartar bar.
Tartar bar.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There was a pretty fun looking tequila bar.
Yes.
I remember it had a lot of style and attitude to it. Anyway, so there was a coffee shop.
There was a Chicago beef.
Oh, that's
stand.
right. Yeah.
There was a Euro spot.
Oh my God! Right. There was two trompas going at the same time.
There was, I can't remember there was a diner that we were going to that wasn't open yet, and there was
Yeah.
also like a music hall. In there.
Dude, it was a clusterfuck. Is what it was. Not because it was a bad idea, and not because it couldn't have figured itself out over time, but what it was the wildest opening I think I may have ever been a part of, because it was like, hey, when are we opening? Hey, when are we open? This is all openings, actually, now that I think about it. Hey, when are we opening? We're opening in 4 days. What? You know what I mean?
I remember we were sitting at a big meeting, and you're like, something hadn't come through for the wines, like the
liquor license.
No, you're just putting together a whole list, and the liquor license hadn't been delivered yet, and you just learned this like a week before grand opening. You're like, just pooped a little.
Yeah, I remember.
It's like super professional.
Yeah, it's probably something I would have
I
said.
just pooped a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Dude, the liquor license. You're always waiting on the goddamn liquor license. And the, what is it? The COA, or the certificate of...
Oh, there's
the
a coffee
COO.
shop in there, too.
There was there was. So, the wildest part about this opening is you're working... It's supposed to be a new opening. But this casino was like 50 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget going into that kitchen. And that thing had fucking served millions of prime ribs and millions of mashed potatoes.
Probably wasn't nothing prime about it, but yes.
Dude, that kitchen was inappropriately like filmy and nasty.
We had to really start ripping it up.
Wow. And, you know, you're using what you can to get through.
Well, it's also massive in scale.
Massive.
Way more
It was a
massive than
huge
You
kitchen.
need like roller skates to get from like the back walk-in to the...
French fry cutter. Yeah.
Right. It was insane.
It was insane. Then I remember you telling me about how, you know, most of the kids that were working in the restaurant were all coming from like a more fine dining. This was in like the apex of the tweezer movement.
Yeah.
This is when everybody...
Just starting, yeah.
And I remember you walking down into the kitchen and being like, guys, We're making tzatziki for 1,000 people.
Oh, yes, I remember this.
We're not fucking...
Plug in the buffalo chopper.
Yes.
And stop dicing. Yeah.
Yes. And these motherfuckers, there was like 8 people working on tzatziki.
Get a tablecloth to strain this stuff. We're not doing like cheesecloth in like 5-gallon buckets.
Dude, and so if you can imagine, we're like 6 hours to opening, and we're trying to like prepare for what's about to be this huge party, and it's inexpensive food, and it's inexpensive cocktails. They were like $8 cocktails, $10 cocktails.
It was like $6 a plate
for a freaking
because it wasn't.
It was sandwiches.
Like,
it was sandwiches and like a food hall.
Like
it wasn't
a free
sit
flowing
down
kind of grab this, grab that. Go see it before you go see a show or something like that.
We also did. It was a fun menu. I gotta look this one up. We had this. We had Boilermakers.
Right.
As part of our thing for the concert hall, where you could go order like an Icky IPA and whatever, and the a shot of something, and we had all these different names.
I remember.
Yeah, we had a fun little menu.
Pabst and Jameson.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Look at you remembering the most important thing. So we had a lot of fun with this opening, but as all openings, things went south very quickly. People change, management change, investors change, the vision changes, and I think that is my first thing about an opening is, hey guys, we're going to teach you a whole bunch of things that within 6 weeks you're going to unlearn, because all this is going to change. Yeah, seriously. But our friend Steve Yor, who does openings exclusively now.
Wow.
Dear God bless you.
Yeah.
Because I start thinking about these openings and I just start getting anxiety.
But I could see if that's what you do, you get it down to a system. You know, you're not kind of going past opening into you're not getting pulled around that much, you know? You go, and Steven Starr does things pretty...
They are crafts. They're crafts people in their intentions and their abilities to do open. They do fantastic work. I mean, that whole Star group, they have a recipe down to the entire thing, which, you know, and I love all the Star restaurants.
Wouldn't that be good, though, if you were just doing openings? At a time, I was doing, like, all the new stuff.
Yeah,
and it was good. It was kind of fresh.
I like the openings because it's a fun way to inject culture. It's a fun way to keep on learning things. It's certainly not boring.
No.
It's quite the opposite of boring. The thing I don't like about openings, though, is that's when you really fall into the unhealthy expectations, let's just say.
From who?
From everyone.
From ownership, you mean? Or from...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Dude, the openings suck.
Yeah.
The deliveries of silverware suck. Yeah. The deliveries of china suck. The organization of the kitchen sucks. The deliveries of
the alarms going off all the time.
Yes, and then the Ansel system. And then, oh my God, I forgot with the broilers going here, we have to reconcept the entire this side of the kitchen. Now we got to submit new plans to the city. Now we got to change where the Ansel system's going. Now we got to also change where the hood setup is. Oh my God, this just pushed us back 3 weeks. Can't happen. Party's happening in 2 days. Like, all that shit, dude. For me, the least of my happiness, I mean, the most horrible, like, downward spiral was setting up wine programs. First, you get deliveries of pallets and cases and pallets, and it's fucking hard work. But then you've got to, like, you start out with what is this beautiful idea of what your wine room's going to look like. Burgundy over here, and Champagne over here, and Bordeaux's over here. And then I'm going to put a little New World darks, you know, rustic and robust section of Malbecs over here, and your Shirazes over here. Within like a week and a half, you're like, the whole thing fucking explodes. There is no rhyme or reason. Half the wines didn't come in.
How do you find anything?
Then you just go from what you thought was going to be like this kind of
super
beautiful.
organized,
No, it goes from organized to just constantly updating this grid, right, of where the wines are, which is fine, which is ultimately you have to, like, get out of your OCD and just get into what's replicable and easy, you know, to make happen. But, dude, putting away, Like, so for example, you have, let's say, a 500 bottle list. That's 500 6-packs. That's 10 pallets of wine that all cost money.
10 pallets?
Yeah. Because each pallet's about 50 cases.
Wow.
So you're putting, you know, you're popping some of these cases you're popping open and they're $20 a bottle and others are $1,000 a bottle. You're organizing it all. You got to make sure that the right vintages are coming in. You got to make sure they're in the right spots. You got to update your grade. You got this, that, the other. And then before you know it, you're like, cool, sigh of relief. Now you got to, after the deliveries come, double check that you got charged the right thing and that you update the wine list price. And then, okay, cool. Now you got to put all those buttons in the fucking POS. And then once all the buttons are in the POS, you got to make sure that they ring up properly. It fucking sucks. It sucks. And then, of course, some of them you want to print right where you are. Some need to print at the service bar because maybe they're by the glass and you want a chit to come up. Fucking hate that shit. That shit is so tedious and boring.
But you did it for a long time.
Did it for a long time. Did it for a lot of openings.
Yeah.
We also did another opening. Oh, so I was going to say, the trauma, right? So, you know, you go through these openings. You're expected to be there first. You're expected to be there last. You're expected to be there for questions. You're expected to be there for all the fucking prep questions. And this is how you do it. You're expected to taste the food. It's like third day of a casino opening. And you're like, the gnocchi's undercooked. You're like, motherfucker.
I remember that about, like, the
There's no ovens downstairs, motherfucker. Like, what do you want from
the concept
us?
we were just talking about, the Italian roast beef with
Yeah,
the jardinere, great sandwich. But we were trying to roast the beef so that we could make these sandwiches, and it was like the day that everyone was going to do a taste test, and this concept was very near and dear to the owner's heart, coming from Chicago. So
he ripped it apart, didn't he?
Oh yeah, because we're trying to roast this beef with this spice mix all over it, you know, and the power keeps going out because somebody's going out with a fire alarm.
Oh my god.
So I'm trying to get this piece of meat cooked so we can have this tasting that he's really proud of for the entire floor staff.
Yeah, all the investors.
To try to get, and, ultimately I had to cut it down into pieces, smaller pieces, and get that going because the tasting was coming up and
you're up against the clock.
Right?
Yeah.
It didn't work. And I was trying to explain it, preempt it. It's like, this is really just about managing the service, because somebody has a very specific idea of exactly as something should taste.
It's like trying to recreate your childhood pizza.
Yeah. And that, Nona made. And I'm trying to, whenever I've been in these consulting contracts, I'm trying to get people into, it's not, work on the mechanics of the restaurant,
yes.
right?
Yes.
It's all going to change and fluctuate and get better. We all know this. We've all done this for the most part. Like, let's just
this is version 1.0.
Where does he keep the gloves? Where does the knife go? Where does the bread go? Where was he reaching over stuff? Is he grabbing?
How much
Where
means
does
do
the
you
garbage
need?
can go? Oh, no one ever thinks of a place to put the garbage can?
Yeah.
Ever? It's always in the middle? It's always in the middle?
Yeah.
So we got the chance
or
to
the POS, the POS chits are printing out on the opposite side of where the fucking guy from the line.
All that stuff.
Yes.
But still, all the preempting, he was very upset at the...
this isn't...
people think you get a chef and the food just magically...
It's going to be perfect.
There's not...
When you got 18 knuckleheads...
A supply chain.
You're trying to get off the fucking... You're like, stop smoking and start chopping. Yeah, it's... I don't remember that because I was probably in the middle of trying to...
I was so angry. I remember being very angry at that because I'm just trying to get... It was like one of the first things we'd cooked, of course, because it was something he was really looking forward to.
And it's like, so often you have to remind people, it's like, this is practice.
Yes.
This is practice, and not only is it practice, this is like 1,000 steps. Like you were talking about the pencil and that guy.
Yeah.
Think about all the shit that had to happen to literally get a delivery of jardinera.
Yeah.
Step 1, find the vendor. Step 2, put in a fucking credit app with the vendor. Step 3.
Make sure you can meet your minimums.
Make sure you can meet your delivery minimums. Step 4, is this the Jardinera? No, actually, we have a different pack size that comes from a different one. Oh, this one we have to drain and add olive oil to.
Right.
No, we can't use olive oil. Way too expensive. All right, blended oil. Oh, weird. Blended oil fucking coagulates in the fridge. Like, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. So, dude.
So I'm just remembering, you're bringing it all back. I remember we had like 18 cases, if not 50 cases of Saganaki cheese in the freezer because you need like one. It was in these big rounds or something.
Oh my
I can't remember
God.
the size, but it came in a very large.
What was that?
box.
Oh, that was a Greek restaurant.
Yeah,
in the
but there
middle
was
of
like,
it.
Saganaki's like a few, like 4 little fingers of cheese you'd sear, or like a little
Yeah,
cake.
with the ouzo.
Yeah.
Oppa! I remember
Like-
he was so in love with the idea of 1,000 people a night ordering this sakanagi, and everybody. It's like, dude, what you want to do is just move to Chicago. It's essentially what you're saying, because you started a Rick Bayless restaurant, then you started a fucking the Italian beef thing, and then you got a fucking Trumpo over here.
Hey, I got Jardinera out of it. I always have a jar of that stuff around.
Jardinera's
Always.
fantastic.
Always.
Oh, and I met a friend for you.
Spicy and regular. I like to mix them.
Oh, you mix them
I
together.
use them for different stuff, but I always have a jar at the ready.
See, something came out of it.
Yeah,
We made some good friends too.
true.
But yeah, so anyway, so the trauma I was gonna get to was I did this opening. I've opened 2 casinos, 3 now if you consider the old Fitzgerald Comro.
One.
So, didn't you open the Oriole in Vegas?
Yeah, I guess there were 2 there because there was a steakhouse that opened after that. It wasn't as much a part of that opening, but it was there. It was like in a different hotel. Like the Four Seasons Hotel was on the top 4 floors of the Mandalay Bay. So they had their own entrance and stuff, and that restaurant it was very, you couldn't share things. You had to like send an invoice to the restaurant.
Yeah.
And even though you just take it on a pallet truck. Over
Right.
there. Yeah.
And never say anything.
Different investors, different all that. So
Oh,
it was
really?
a different show. But yeah, a lot of hard openings, like from scratch, but then probably more so these kind of little rebrands and things like that.
Dude, I remember just people just send you shit. When you're in the middle of an opening and it's huge and there's a ton of stuff going on, some of the vendors know that you're in the middle of a casino opening and they'll just send you shit.
Of course. Just put it on the invoice?
Yeah.
Of course.
Dude, I remember one time a whole fucking pallet of this wine showed up. Literally a pallet, 56 cases. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
You can't send it back. It's on the
It's
invoice.
too late. Yeah, it was too late because we were in... Dude, imagine we had... LDV had 3 or 4 restaurants opening. All at the same time. And shit was just flying all over the fucking place. There was fucking pallets everywhere. Jose Garces is opening 3 or 4 restaurants in this fucking place. You've got Robert Wiedemeyer was opening places.
Who's that?
Robert Wiedemeyer's down in D.C.
Okay.
He has like, Muscle Bar. He had like 10 restaurants
Oh,
down
yeah,
there.
of course.
Then Michelle Richard was opening a restaurant in this place. STK. Dude, it was chaos.
Everyone's been chaos forever.
Dude, and then you're fighting people
especially
off to
since
not
they-
steal your shit.
Since restaurants started to get a little bit more, since casinos started to cater
Get more
to people,
food-centric.
get more food centric, and bring people in, because it used to just be the casino ran it all. They had one warehouse, they did one ordering. Those warehouse guys did
Right.
everything, and they just gave you the rec, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember even those early days of 1999, 2000 of opening Mandalay Bay. 2000, yeah, 99 I think it opened. Like, it was hard to get some ingredients.
Sure it
because you'd
was.
have to go through the warehouse.
Right, and then you gotta
minimums.
get them to order the stuff for
Right.
you, put it in the system.
Right, and it's
now
like-
you realize all the pain in the ass it is.
These vendors make more money off of hot dogs, going to like the Paris for like
Yeah.
the weddings they do there,
Right.
And like,
And popcorn.
right, like that kind of stuff.
Right. Meanwhile, you're like,
And
no,
booze.
I just need 2 cans of Osetra.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
They're like, get the fuck out of
Exactly.
here. I just ordered fucking 18 pounds of funnel cake for like the one hot dog thing. Anyway,
18 pounds, 18
pallets.
pallets. Yeah.
So when I was opening Revel, a dear friend now, and we actually went to visit him at Claw. This guy Kevin D'Antonio, fucking awesome guy. Yeah. Yes. So he before that had spent time opening Cosmopolitan, and he opened. Who's the guy with the hair and the red onions? The guy who did the cooking show.
So somebody with the hair and the red onions?
He has this red hair? Fucking his hair. No, he doesn't have. He has he was on one of those.
Get the hair, but red onions. What?
He had a freak out, a meltdown moment about red onions on on Chopped.
Really?
Yeah.
Because why?
Because he hates red onions.
I love red onions. Somebody actually commented at one of my dinner parties, a lot of red onions this weekend, huh?
Dude, it's very polarizing.
I use a lot of red onions, I realized.
I love red onions,
I didn't realize how often I was using them, but I guess it was a lot.
I love red onions. That's why we're friends. Anyway, so this chef, Scott Conan, you know that guy?
He freaked out about red onions.
Dude, it was like the first viral food scene.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah, we gotta find it. Yeah. We gotta find it. Anyway, so he had opened a restaurant for that guy because he was formerly partnered with LVDB and stuff. But he came from the Thomas Keller School because he worked at French Laundry for a long time, and I think he might have worked at the Breakers. Anyway, incredible pedigree, really great operator. He was the GM of this Italian restaurant, and it was the first restaurant that opened in the casino. They were smart enough at LDV to do these staggered openings so that all of the leadership team that came around from Miami and New York and Vegas could all help to get the operation up. You know what I mean? But I was the wine director, so I was involved with all the openings. That meant wine training for all the different staff members. It meant wine lists for all of them. Of course, as a fucking 29-year-old idiot, I'm like, all of these wine programs deserve to have their own identity and blah, blah, blah. And, you fall into the romance of it, and you forget about the practicality of replicating all of the ingredients that work to get some, for example, there was a Val d'Aosta Pinot Noir by the glass at the Italian place. Did I have to do that? No. You know what was going on 6 months later? Everybody had the same Pinot Noir by the glass. But to open, had to be fancy, had to make my life a living hell.
Had to be harder to do, harder to accomplish.
Yes,
everyone to appreciate it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've been there many times.
Yep, we've all done it.
Yeah.
So
anyway. It's not hard, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And, of course, I'm thinking, all my wine friends are going to come in here and know if I fucking dialed this in, I got to make this special. Anyway, it was special when it opened. But then, of course, as soon as the corporate mongers got their bloody hands on what was happening within the internal finances.
Crazy guys wanted to
make money
out of their business.
Exactly. God, it hurts so good. So
your buddy had some suggestions, right? Or he had a...
Oh, well, so I was just going to say before we get into... Not even suggestions. I think these are...
More like,
Yeah, some things that he notices now about opening restaurants.
Okay. It'd be interesting to hear a fresh perspective.
Yeah, it's true. But so the multiple openings in one place. So Kevin was a badass, and he was a hard ass. And I think he was at his restaurants every day for 3 weeks. Because he was just that guy, the Thomas Keller guy. I'm not taking off until everything's perfect kind of thing.
So this was going to get into a question I had about openings.
Yeah.
When is that transition date, do you think? For it's
okay, now I can take a day off?
Not even that, but the opening team is there, say, 2 months before to how long after. Then it's new team is there running. Because where I could see it getting tedious is when it starts bleeding into one another, and then you got to jump off of...
You got 4 GMs in the same restaurant.
Right. And then you got to recalibrate your brain for regular service and then jump into a new opening. I could see that part of it being really taxing.
But
if you just go from opening to opening, I could see it being very regimented in a way. So 2 months after opening day, you're out.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Steve about that. If there's because Star has got opening down.
Yeah.
They've got the whole... a recipe for success, I will say. But I remember it was Sunday. So the 2 weeks leading up are a pain in the ass. The 2 weeks after opening are a pain in the ass.
2
months. 2 months, yeah. And then in this case, I had 3 other restaurants to open. So Lugo opens, and then Azure, which was like a Provence.
You're just putting wine away, though.
Dude, it was no.
I mean,
when you're it's
not
that.
like you're. It's not.
Well, I think the expectation. No, well, maybe
just
the self-imposed.
Put it in the thing.
Yeah.
It's
it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. Just pop open a bag and throw it in the fryer. You know,
right.
That's service. Throw a little fucking chive on top and bing, order up. You know what I mean?
Truffle Parmesan.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, chef, I've never tasted anything like this. So he's like, yo, I'll see you tomorrow, 1:00, pre-shift 4. And I remember being like, dude, I'm taking off tomorrow. I have.
Wait, how far into the opening was this?
This is 2 weeks in.
Okay.
Because then the next restaurants were opening.
Right.
And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? We don't have this figured out yet. And I was like,
Kevin,
dude,
It never will be. Not today, not tomorrow.
Not 4 years from now.
Here. Not if I never leave again.
Dude, I remember feeling so guilty, and he's like, "Are you coming tomorrow?"
couldn't even get a good night's sleep. You're like,
bro, I fucking was like, Kevin, you don't understand, bro. I gotta put fucking American Cuts wine away. I gotta help Gordana put all the shit away at Azure.
So you were working for
for
the casino, not a restaurant.
I was working for the restaurant group to do the wine programs for all the different restaurants within the casino. And it was fucking wild. It was wild. So I just remember being like...
Wait, you were working for all the different brands?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just a pain in the ass.
No kidding, I mean...
Yeah, and then of course, you know...
But you were like setting up their wine lists?
Putting it in the POS.
For all the different brands?
Yeah.
Because they basically have like a contract, but you worked for...
The contracts... I worked for LDV, who owned multiple restaurants within the casino.
Gotcha.
Anyway, yeah. Thank you for that,
there's
Kevin.
LDV, and then there were many different chefs.
That's correct.
Who had their brands.
There was like 15 different brands in there, and we were doing 4 of them.
Gotcha. That's not that much.
It's just the problem is it's like all at once.
I'm joking.
That was the... Listen, now
Plus
knowing
it's a
what
casino,
I know...
so the volume is a totally different thing.
Oh, dude.
You know, it's not a 40-seat restaurant, you know, that can be closed on Sunday, Monday.
I'll never forget, dude. Like that first order, I ordered like 10 cases of Pinot Noir, 10 cases of 3 different cabs. I remember one of the bartenders being like, chill out, right? Like as if they knew. Mm-hmm. They're like, one time I used to run a wine bar, like, you don't need this much. I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. Stack all that shit up there. Let's see where we're at on Sunday. Right. And I remember being like, we don't have any sparkling wine cold, huh? Motherfucker. Yeah. Put some more shit on the fucking fridge. And by the way, the line right now, they're firing like 18 filet mignons. Don't even worry about it. Your food's on the way out. Get your fucking me's down, you fucking asshole. Anyway, so according to Steve, who is at this point, he's been in the industry for years, man. By the way, I want to give a little clap to the restaurant operators who managed to make it. How did you do it? I don't know if I could make it.
Well, they have all this amazing back office support now that allows them to.
Right.
Through
like invoice processing,
back-end
item mapping.
bookkeeping, you know.
Right. You never have to worry about putting a stock sheet, an inventory list together.
The job is easy now.
It really is. You just get to have fun.
Yeah.
Make Parmesan fries. It's
Collect
crazy.
Tips.
Collect tips. So his favorite things. Okay. 2 favorite things from Steve Ure about openings. Seeing a cold, dark shell turn into something beautiful with life and energy. And you know what? I'd have to say that's one of my favorite parts of opening a restaurant too. The part where you don't have to rely on other humans. Well, I guess you gotta rely on the construction crew. But when that dining room comes together and it's beautiful, that first night you bring the lights down and the music's going and you know the smells are smelling, that's a nice feeling. Like that first cocktail that gets shaken for a guest, like that, and you hear it, and it's a nice feeling.
I've never experienced that, but...
Oh, why? Because you guys are in the middle of, what the fuck?
Pandemonium.
What the fuck? Who left the fucking bread on? I'm making creme brulees. All right. So he likes that. He also likes teaching staff about F&B. And,
Sure.
I like that too. I like seeing a bunch of cute little doe-eyed staffers. They're all excited reading through the menu. They all can't wait to try the surf and turf. And then we get to say, you don't get to try that one. But we got 4 Caesar salads on the way out.
You just have to know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
You still have to be able to explain it in detail.
Now, I say it often because I've visited some friends' restaurants. And I think every generation says the same thing. I just don't know how you work with this generation. And it must be tough. I mean, dude, back in our day, I can't even imagine the wild piracy and insanity that it was working at Charlie Palmer's restaurants in the late 90s and early 2000s. But dude, back in my day, if you had your cell phone on the floor, you would get written up. You weren't allowed to have your cell phone. It was easier.
There weren't cell phones back then.
See?
They didn't exist.
Can you imagine having everybody's full and complete attention all day? What a world.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what it's like training in this day and age when people are just like, in the bathrooms doing selfies. So, his least favorite things about opening restaurants.
Oh, wait, do we get three?
He gave us 2.
Okay.
2 favorite things because opening restaurants are lifeless and cold and dark and hard to achieve a third thing that you love. But his least favorite things.
Now, those were 2 very all-encompassing things about restaurant life, I think. It was always about learning and teaching.
It's
in
true.
A way. You're all there for the same kind of purpose. There's 2 different there's the business, then you're not working for the paycheck. You're working to learn.
Yeah, that's true.
The elements of service.
That's the
and
beauty, I
cuisine
think,
and all
of
that.
and the difference between the front of the house and the back of the house.
The front of the house is just there for money.
That's correct. They're all mercenaries, willing to slit your throat for a $40 tip, whether it's the hostess or it's the server next to you.
Tip. I think you got to update your.
I know.
Update your framework there.
$100 tip. Yeah, and I guess they're $100 tips now.
Dude, did I tell you this the other day?
What?
I spent $18 on chips and guac at a neighborhood place. I went up to. I had a quick.
Says a lot about your neighborhood, though.
No. No, it was not that kind of neighborhood.
No.
It was just a quick 3 chicken tacos and a guac and chips, and I went up to that to pay, and it was $42. I'm like, no way.
What?
I think you had, didn't even have a bottle of water, and I got the medium guac and chips, and it was $40, $20, 19 something, for the guac and chips.
How much did you tip?
I tipped $8. I think I gave them a solid $50.
So
I think it was
so you spent $42. You dropped $50 on lunch.
Yes.
For you.
That went back to sandwiches the next day.
It's disgusting.
It's crazy.
It's disgusting.
But I don't, anyway, things have changed, my friend.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not over $40 now. It's over. It's over a cool Ben Franklin. All right. So we're going to our least favorite things about openings, and first is hires that exhibit a lack of interest in getting better or learning.
That's the world around, my friend.
I know. It is the world around. Nobody gives a fuck anymore. Was that always the case? I feel like there was a lot of people who cared back in the day. Or is that just a figment of my imagination?
I think, maybe some ratios have changed, but certainly it was always... Usually when people... I would like to think, I like to remember... They were like radio work, but I remember some people just not everybody worked out. Let's just put it that way.
Of course.
Not every hire works out.
If you were gonna go after that comment, which I think is very, very poignant. If you were gonna, let's say you were hiring for 100-person restaurant, and you needed to hire, let's call it 40 staffers for the entire restaurant, how many would you hire knowing that you need some buffer?
For an opening?
Yeah.
I would hire I would go for 80.
Double.
Yeah.
Knowing that 1 out of 2 is not going to know how to cut a lemon.
Not just that.
Or give a shit or show up on time.
Look, every business in the world, I don't care if you're Facebook or a restaurant or every business is a human resource business. Every single one. And things just don't work out. People get sick. People move. People get hurt. People, all kinds of things happen. It's a crazy world. So
you're absolutely right. Double.
And then you're on the hunt forever. Just constant.
Yeah.
The constant stream of people ready and willing.
You're right. Look, we're in the internet age. We're in the social media age. We're in the influencer age. And we're also in an age, I feel like, where there's less and less interest in just doing a good job. Like, it was beat into me as a child. Anything you're going to do, just do it well. And if you're not going to do it well, then why even try?
Sure. Well,
that was like cleaning dishes.
I think that people get into the restaurant business now thinking it's going to be a little bit more glamorous and easier than it actually is to make money. So I think that, and we've been talking about this for a long time now, something has to, I'm okay with things being expensive, and I understand how hard of a business it is. Something has to give there to where you can actually make a good amount of money doing this, so you're not killing yourselves. This Mexican restaurant has like three
people there.
Ladies working back there, and one is definitely an abuela.
Yeah.
I wanted to take Monday, Tuesday off, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So maybe when you go back, they'll take they'll.
I'll throw some.
They'll go up to $22 on that guac.
I'll tell them medium guac. I might go to the small guac.
All right.
I think the small one was.
You're still supporting abuela if it's a $14 guac.
No, I'm just saying that things are everything's getting more expensive, and
it's
it has
wild.
to shake out somewhere. And I don't necessarily think it should be anymore how it was
back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great point, because another thing, and this is all a lot has to do, of course, with just what you're talking about. It's a human resources kind of business. Especially, it's a very people forward business. Our business. But there's a lot more sense of entitlement these days. And I wish there was some examples of that. But I can only imagine.
I blame the schools. I really do.
I blame this. Which schools? The culinary schools? Or just the public schools?
Look, they have a business. They need to feed the beast too with the highest tuition they can manage. And they tell you're going to
come out of college,
this salary, and it's not like they set them up for that kind of success, or even the industry which they're purported to support for that success.
Yeah, I do.
So I think that they could be more of a first line of defense against that.
Right, like, do you really want to do this?
But it's a business. It's a business to
It's a business, dude. I can only imagine what kind of revenue CIA does. It's got to be in the millions. How many kids go there?
If you see, it's like the campus is
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I mean, there's a lot more viable jobs in the food service industry now, I think. Not everything is a fine dining restaurant, front back of house person.
There's all kinds of jardinera jobs.
No, but food scientists and food, there's a lot of different ways you could take a career in food service.
That's
more
true.
so than I would have thought when I was getting into it.
Honestly, when I was doing the La Colombe opening, they hired somebody specifically for making sure that the pathogens and different mold strains weren't going to incubate within the cans of the
food
cold
science.
brew.
There's nutritionists are a huge thing now. I have a buddy who's a private chef, and they want to work with the nutrition. So there's 3 people, who were working on the menus for this family, but there's a nutritionist involved too. That wasn't really. It was probably a fringe. Thing.
As soon as you say private chef, I'm automatically assuming it's some rich financial guy that
I don't know
was bit by a tick and can't eat beef, but he wants to have the closest off beef, non-beef, artificial beef.
Don't be,
Listen, I know I'm going to stop talking shit, because the moment I start talking all this shit, that's when I know the tick comes and bites me. So
previous episode, ladies and germs.
Yeah.
All right.
But the sense of accountability. So it sounds to me like, in general, it's a lot harder to hire and find quality people. And listen, this is somebody who's been opening restaurants.
No, I get it.
Since I've known them in 2005.
I also always know that it was so much easier. I don't think it was easier back then. I think it was.
You don't think
just
it was
as
easier?
Difficult in different ways?
Dude, you don't remember the days when you would just be sitting in the kitchen and 10 like, dude, I remember back in my days of opening, of running restaurants, people used to come looking for dishwasher jobs, and I'd be like, all right, Manuel, let me see your resume.
Just as often.
And they're like,
I'd
oh,
be washing dishes.
Fridays? You work on Fridays? You think you could cut the mustard at Union Trust Steakhouse? We'll let you work one day and see if it works out.
Oh,
Dude, that was how it was. There was so many people who wanted to work in restaurants. Now I know people who are like literally posting on Facebook, posting on Craigslist, posting on so like everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the job sites, on the this.
No, I know. I'm not. It's definitely harder. Maybe it's an oversaturation of restaurants. It could be to a few things, probably.
Yeah, not enough immigrants, man. Not enough immigrants.
Not enough people getting pumped out of culinary school, apparently.
That either. Well, we're sorry that we took a little hiatus, but Steve, Alona, thanks for kicking us in the ass.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks for getting us back on the back in the saddle. We are. I'm very happy that I got to open some restaurants with you guys. Yourself too, Tony. It's a trauma bond that you'll never quite share with any other kind of business. I feel
we're still here, yeah,
and we still made it.
We're still traumaing.
We're still traumaing, exactly. Hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for listening to Overseasoned. We will catch you soon.
Overseasoned Podcast was brought to you by Over Easy Office, outsourced bookkeeping solution.